Welcome to Ignite Agility, everyone. I'm your host, Rand Eaton. You've seen my next guest before, but I'm going to reintroduce her again, Angela Schultz with Model Mind AI. And we are going to talk today about the difference between access to AI and the ability to interface with AI. And they're not different, right? Is that true, Angela? You think there's a distinction between access to one and ability to use one?
Oh, 100%. I think the access is pretty exciting. I call it a low floor, high ceiling technology, right? Because it's accessible to anybody. I've taught my parents how to use it, and I can ask a simple question: is this poison ivy, right? Upload a quick picture, but I can also build out a dashboard that is automatically scheduled to post once a week to the finance team or whatever it may be. So it's really overwhelming at times, but I think if you just get access without training or without any type of understanding, it also can be underwhelming. So it's
Yeah.
about finding that sweet spot.
Okay. Perfect. Well, and as we've seen in the news, there's been a lot of organizations that have sort of gone over to AI, for lack of a better phrase. Um, how's that different from an organization using AI tools to an individual using AI tools? Is there some
Mm.
runway there, or talk about?
Yes. And actually, I think it's best when there's a blending of two in the sense of the personal and the professional. I think when people are using AI on a personal level, they're much more willing to experiment, kind of explore, push the boundaries a little bit. I oftentimes, part of my daily routine is to try to break the AI so I can understand it. But then professionally, I feel like people are more constrained because they have due dates. There's a process in which they've always done it before, so they want great output quickly. They want efficiency. They want it to be the right output the first time, right? And so
Mhm.
sometimes it takes a little bit of time to invest in that. But in the teams or the companies taking on some sort of AI platform, there's so much collaborative capabilities. When you sign up for an actual company wide package, you can connect to one another, and there's some really elevated functions versus you just having your own ChatGPT account. You're missing out on a lot of that great collaborative opportunities as well. So I encourage both because sometimes we learn a lot from sitting on the couch just playing around with ChatGPT that
Yeah.
we then can apply Monday morning when we've got that big project coming due.
So since we understand now that the ability to use AI is so important, are there things the organization should provide in addition to just access to the tool?
Oh, I mean, this is probably the question that people should be asking, right? Because I think we're investing a lot of money as leadership and as company owners, and then we have high expectations. But I think just giving them access to, let's say, a Copilot account or a ChatGPT account, it is really a new technology that we didn't grow up with. So we don't have that kind of background knowledge. So unless you're a curious learner and this is your kind of hobby on the side, it really requires a lot of um, showing and modeling and keeping the conversation going. Obviously, I come from the perspective of the trainer. So I think the first day you give somebody a subscription to ChatGPT, you should send them to my class
Right.
and we can kind of expedite that process. But I've had people who have used AI for years and they come to even our fundamentals class and they're like, I had no idea that all of this could be done. And I think sometimes people feel like they have to understand it completely before they really engage in it.
Yeah.
And it's really a trial by error. Just this week, we are teaching a new class on building out their own assistant. And I was prepping for it last week, and I had about 3 updates throughout the week. And every time I updated my account, it was something new, something's changed.
Yeah.
So I think that just has to be a shift in a mindset too. Gone are the days of a new tech rollout and it stays stagnant for 5 years. this could change on a daily basis. So it's really just a mindset and an understanding of how this is different than maybe what we're used to. But
Sure.
it is not a spectator sport. I mean, you have to get yourself in the game
Yep.
and don't expect perfection, but um, hopefully somewhere along the way we can find that efficiency.
Well, and you and I have talked before about this kind of thing. And one of the things that constantly fascinates me about this idea is one of them is what you just said, like that the map is changing out from under you.
Mm,
But two, like we're so used to that Google mindset, for lack of a better
mhm,
motif, that one of the things that I certainly learned from your classes, you can ask the question different ways and get different answers, and you can ask the tool itself for help. We're not used to being able to do that. You can't go to Google like, hey, help me figure out a better way to ask this question. But with any of the AI tools or the LLMs, right? I guess if we're being technical, you can do that. And so
yeah.
I think that's been certainly for my background, that's been the biggest aha is, well, if I don't know how to do something, I can ask. And the
You're
one,
absolutely right. And actually, that is probably the number one way to get information right now is to ask. I've noticed that in class where in the mornings there's a lot of hand raising, a lot of questions, and then in the afternoon there's fewer and fewer questions because I think that switch gets flipped in their mind like, "Oh, I can just ask ChatGPT for the response going forward." And I will say it is a bit of a, a daily research because we don't have a textbook, right? That is
yeah,
the go to guide on all things AI. It would take longer to put it into print and then it'd already be obsolete by the time they printed it. So
right,
it requires you to go out and just ask the questions, which is a great learning technique. If you can learn as you go, rather than stop for a month and learn how to use AI and then apply it, we really want to find those kind of daily habits where you can maybe learn for 5 minutes or go down a rabbit hole of one of your projects and just kind of get that knowledge, more experiential knowledge than theoretical knowledge. I think
right.
is key right now. So
Which is exactly why I was drawn to it, because I am not a traditional learner, right? Like I'm
mhm,
an active kinesthetic learner. So I need
mhm,
to see it, I need to try it, and then I need
mhm,
to fail at it.
mhm,
And and so traditional education has never really worked for me because, if you tell me something, I go, so, right?
mhm, mhm.
And now AI comes along, and now I can interact with this information in a way that, without having one-on-one with a teacher or mentor or coach or whatever you want to call them, you
Mhm.
don't get that ability. And so the story that I've been telling a lot lately is I had to do some troubleshooting for our network, and all the information is out there, it's all out on
Mhm.
Google, right? You can Google fix my network all you want, but there was something about asking the AI a question, getting it parsed back to me, creating a screenshot, showing it to, because Claude is my guy, right? Like my
Yeah,
my
yeah,
wife makes fun of me for my new best friend Claude all the time. But it did really feel like I had a partner in this, right? I was like,
yeah.
hey, this is what I'm seeing on the screen. I have no idea what this says. Help me out.
Mhm.
And so being able to do that, I think, is kind of fundamentally different than, you know, just go to a book or go to Google or go,
Yeah.
ask somebody yet. And for me anyway, that was kind of the big shift, right? And now,
Okay, I'm glad you said the word big because I was just going to tap onto that. I
yeah,
think you also have to encourage yourself to think beyond what you normally do. So think big, dream big, because I think to your point, we're used to finding a YouTube video that kind of sort of maybe showed you what you were trying to accomplish. But
yep,
now with AI, the customization, the personalization, if there's something you don't like, it just requires some iteration, right? We need to
yep,
keep coming back and dialing it in and calibrating it until it is the exact networking fix that you need, right? Not one that you can kind of adapt to or customize. And that's another mind shift for people. I think
yep,
I see so many people just accept something, like we'll build out an agent or something in class. And I said, "What do you think? Is this what you like?" And they're like, "It's all right." And I'm like, "No, that is not okay. Like
Right.
this is not supposed to be a mediocre
Yeah.
output." Like, and so getting people to understand that they have the power to kind of dial it in and make it be something they want. I think we're used to just grabbing some tech off the shelf and making do. And this is, I mean, you really got to push it and think beyond what's possible. We just had
Yeah.
a team meeting this morning, and um, even as AI trainers, sometimes we have to remember to keep going beyond what we think is possible because boy, it feels a bit limitless right now of what you can do with
Yeah.
that $20 Claude subscription, right?
Well, and that's a great point, right? Because my background is in technology, right? Like software development,
Mhm.
things like that. And that's obviously an area that's being taken over in no uncertain terms by a lot of this stuff. But one of the big challenges with that in the past has been a lot of the time the people making the product don't speak the same language, scare
Mhm.
quotes, as the person that's using the the product. And so, you
I would
know,
say all the time that's true.
yeah, well, right, like ask your parents to go do an app and then ask your teenager to go do an app, and you'll see what I
Right,
mean, right? Like,
right, right.
and so as you just said, right, but now we don't have to put up with that anymore. We can talk to Claude like as a teenager, answer this, or as a Gen Zer, answer this, and all that sort of stuff. So
Mhm.
yeah, it is one of those things you really do kind of almost have to stop and go, okay, wait a minute. What am I really asking for here? Or what do I really need here?
And I think beyond that, if you just accept the okay response, I think people miss the boat when they don't realize you're investing in that Claude account. Like
Yeah.
he's your best friend because of a reason, right? Because every conversation you're really training on how you want the process to be completed, how you want the questioning to be done, what type of language you want as the final product. So there's also this investment which to me adds so much value
Yep.
because not only am I understanding the technology, but next week when I go to use it again, it's going to be even better than it was last week. And that is a huge bonus for companies, right?
Yeah.
To get people invested and engaged, with the payoff being like the more you use it over time, the better it's going to be.
So how can an organization realizing that their people are going to use this slightly differently, how do they
Mm,
give people that time and permission to learn all that stuff, right? Like the company's made an investment, they want to get some return on that.
mhm.
But, you don't want people just sitting at their desks saying, hello world for 6 hours a day or something like that.
Right.
Where's the sweet spot there?
I think it has to be incremental and it has to be over a period of time, right? And so I obviously recommend as soon as you get those subscriptions and you start investing financially in it, then you need to start investing in the people. So I kind of classify it into two different buckets. AI adoption to me is all about the people, your team, how they're using it. And then after you get people onboarded, then there's AI transformation,
Mm.
which to me that's more about the company and the processes that you have. And so I think it's vital that we start with the people first, and getting them at least aware of what is possible. And then they can start to find the little sweet spots, the little takeaways, what's working for them. I'm noticing a lot of companies, let's say they go through our 5 classes. After the 5 classes, they start scheduling either weekly or monthly kind of check ins where they buy everybody donuts. And then there's just sharing, right? It just comes down to communication. This is how I'm using it. I built this. Do you want to borrow it? Because in those team environments, we can share what we've built as well.
Mm.
And I think now, especially with AI, it's become more of a share it all culture than a know it all culture because we're really investing in how to apply this technology, not necessarily how to use the technology. I mean, you can't have one without the other, but it's that spark of, hey, I built this And I think you would really enjoy using it. Now, what I'm finding is though, everybody that shares something, everybody wants to tweak it to make it their own. Like the expectations are so high now that we start to really have opinions. But if you can define your process or define whatever it is, we can pretty much build it. I mean, I had a gentleman come into class the other day and they were using Salesforce, which is an expensive product. Turns out they were using a very, very, very small percentage of what was possible with Salesforce. So
Sure.
he wanted to offload it. So over the course of 2 hours, we came up with a solution that he was able to build with one other person, um, to kind of replace that concept. Now, what was exciting was not only did we save a ton of money for the company, but while we were building for that 2 hours, we kept writing down on a second whiteboard all these other ideas that had kind of come to the surface. Like, if we can do this, then we can do that. So, there again, we're investing in maybe a day of training or a project, but the kind of ripple effect of that is really exciting for teams and companies.
Yeah.
They're learning a skill at the same time they're solving a problem.
And do you think there's a point where the learner then stops sort of waiting for the answer and starts actively experimenting? Do you think there's like a tipping point there or
Yeah, I mean, and it just comes with probably being comfortable and gaining some confidence, right? I think at first the hesitation to click on a button and you think you're going to break it.
Mhm.
And then once you realize that you can really put pressure on it and kind of explore without any repercussions or any, you can't break this. I'm telling you, I try to on the daily basis. And
It's her job, folks. She tries to break out you.
Now, I'm going to put one caveat to that. Our final class, we actually can connect our ChatGPT or our cloud accounts to a lot of shared files and folders. So you can break it. I don't want it to be on record that the headline says Model Mind says you can't
Right.
break it. You can,
It's
but it takes a while to get to those higher level capabilities. So if you're just starting out, have some fun with it. And like you said, you got chat right there. So say, hey, can I do this? Is there risk involved? You've got a built-in tutor, which is really nice. I will say though, I think having someone like you or me in the room with you to get you jump started and to kind of be a benchmark to keep coming back to,
right.
what could take your team a year we can do in a day, right? Like the way that we can kind of capture all of the good functionality and put it into practice. So give your team a head start. This is kind of the wild west right now. And so to have a guide through that process is really worth the time and energy.
Yeah, I'll second that. I mean, I think one of the things people being people, right? Like the
Mm,
problem they might be having isn't anything related to the AI. It's just like you said, do they have that ability to think outside the box? Do they have that ability to do these things? And so person to person, right, or like at a training class or
mhm,
all these things that Model Mind offers, you do get that more human to human. And
mhm,
that way, if let's say that it's not an AI thing at all, right? The AI is giving you the right answer, you're just not looking at it from a perspective, right? It
mhm,
is nice to have somebody there to say, well, tell me more about that, or which to be fair, right? You can get your AI to do.
mhm.
But
Yep.
certainly in these initial experiences that we've been talking about, it is nice to have somebody there kind of shoulder to shoulder with you and say, well, now what? Or is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah. When I train, I feel like sometimes I end up asking more questions than the participants, right? Because you're kind of unpacking the problem or the process to define it so we can actually enhance it with the AI tool,
Yeah.
which is kind of exciting. I did have somebody request that I build something using AI with their team, and the leader was like, I don't even care what the end product is, but I just need to get these 5 people on the same page completing the process in an aligned fashion. And it was ChatGPT that we used, and that was kind of the glue. And
Hmm.
so we figured out and kind of got on the same page. So through kind of defining this process, everybody became aligned. So I think it can be a real value to a lot of companies to kind of get on the same page, get an agreed upon output, and then also they left with a tool that hopefully saved them a lot of time and made their job more enjoyable and an easier methodology going forward.
Yeah. So they come to a model mind class. They learn all this stuff. They step out of their comfort zone. They do all that. What happens next? What happens after the training?
Sure. So right now we currently have 5 different classes that are definitely set up as a progression. So we start at the beginning and kind of start to layer in all the possibilities. But we also have a coaching program where we're really focused on not building for you, but kind of being that guide alongside of you. So let's say you agree to this coaching program, and over 12 weeks we'll work with your teams and we'll kind of give them the guidance and the help that they need to build out and solve some of their problems, connect to their own systems that they already have up and running, that type of thing. And then always, every Monday, I have what are called open office hours.
Hmm.
And originally, when we first kicked this off, we gave people access for 6 weeks after class. Any class you take, you have access to me every Monday. Um, but what we found is sometimes people need a couple months or a couple even longer, and so it's actually just first come first serve. Come to open office hours. Doesn't matter if you took the class last year or last week. Sometimes people will just pop in and say, okay, what's changed? What's the newest feature that I didn't know it exists that I need to know is there? So just a kind of an open door policy of keeping communication going. And then like I said, we're here to really help you build, not to necessarily take it over for you or build it. I think the true value is in kind of learning as you build.
Yeah.
And that's a really unique approach. And I feel like people at first they want you to take the majority of the build, like, no, 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 just go do this for me and get back to
Right.
me in a week, right?
Yep.
But after a couple weeks of the coaching, they're like, oh, we've already finished our project and we're only on week 2. Can we add another one? Yeah, let's do something else. So it's that comfortability and that confidence that comes from just getting your hands dirty,
Yeah. For
being
sure.
willing to fail and experiment and learn as you go.
Nice. Well said. So yeah, I think the idea that we want people to sort of take away is that you you can use this stuff, right? Anybody can get access to a GPT or something through work or Google or what have you. But there's so much more to being able to use it. And certainly, that's something that Model Mind and Collaborative Leadership Team are going to be able to help you with. And going forward, right, for our listeners, we are going to start delivering some of the Model Mind training, and we're going to, of course, kind of come at it from an agile perspective, right? Since that's our background.
Hmm.
There's a lot of use of this in the agile space. See our YouTube channel for examples of this, but it seemed like a good fit to say, well, because we're evolving and iterating, right? And that's what Angela's just basically been
Hmm.
describing. You're able to iterate your own learning, and there's going to be plenty of teachers and helpers along the way. But it's not just to use AI, right? It's to do something with AI. I've said for years there's a difference between learning how to write and learning how to type. You anybody can learn how to type, but not everybody can learn how to write easily, right? It helps if you have something to say.
Hmm.
And so that's to me the difference between just going into Google and saying, Google, answer my question, or going to chat and saying, answer my question, or really getting into some of these things that we've been talking about in this session. Angela, just as a wrap up, any question I didn't ask that you wished I did, or
Oh boy. I guess if I had one, I think people don't realize. how happy AI can make you as an employee. There's nothing I hate worse than getting stuck. So I guess my question that I think you should have asked is like, um, how much more do you enjoy your job because of your $20 a month ChatGPT subscription? I work part-time remote, part-time in person, and to have that place I can go to get unstuck, it
Yeah.
just it makes my day so much better.
It
That
does weirdly feel like you have a partner after a while. It's like,
it does. It does. I'm a little concerned about my dependency at this point. So I've actually got a Claude personal account and a ChatGPT professional account. So I have two best friends now.
Nope.
So-
I know what you're saying. All right. Well, thanks everybody. We appreciate everyone's time and attention. Angela, thanks for joining us. And you'll hear more from both Model Mind AI and Collaborative Leadership Team as we continue on this road together. But thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Rand.